Gaza is a strip of land of just 365 square kilometres, which lies at the heart of the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. For years, people have strived to live their daily lives away from the battles surrounding them. Its more recent past shaped by the signing in 1993 of the Oslo Accords, which established a Palestinian body to run parts of Gaza. After the Israeli military pulled out, elections in 2006 saw a surprise victory for the more militant Hamas over Fatah. In ensuing fighting, around 600 Palestinians were killed as the two sides struggled for control. Hamas coming out on top. Then, in 2008, a Palestinian-Israeli truce broke down. War came, Israeli fighters launching the first of a series of airstrikes. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to France 24.
We're faced with a problem that we have an implacable foe, basically an al-Qaeda type of an enemy implanted next to our cities. It's arming itself with rockets, and it's fired 6,000 rockets on Israel's cities in the last 3 years, 6,000. So finally Israel said enough is enough and took action.
There followed a full ground invasion, 13 Israelis killed, but more than 1,300 Palestinians. After destroying many targets, Israel declared a ceasefire. Hamas, though, claiming victory.
After the failure of the aggression, we announced victory. Victory of Gaza and Gaza's children and our people, our nation, and the free people all over the world.
Since then, a blockade of the Gaza Strip by Israel. Rocket attacks continue, Israel often hitting back, notably in November 2012. As for Gazans, they face ongoing shortages of fuel, food and medical supplies. And France 24's Gallagher Fenwick has met with those living under the shadow of the conflict.
والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد.
For more than 6 decades, Mohammed Abu Sadek has been witness to the trials and troubled history of Gaza. Born in 1949, 1 year after Israeli independence, he remembers it all, from Egyptian rule in the 1950s to today's blockade.
When the Egyptians were here, we were all poor. Then the Jews came and our situation got better. When the Egyptians took back Sinai, they didn't leave a single fish in the sea. Now the Jews are back, but they too are suffocating us.
Friends and family call him Hajj. In Islam, it's a sign of respect. He has always been a fisherman. Yesterday, Mohammed was too weak to go out with the boat, so he has to be there early the next day to help unload the catch. In exchange for his work, the old man often gets nothing more than leftover fish. The boat crew's earnings are too small to share.
My children see me coming home without any money after work. The sea no longer feeds us. If the sea had been good to me, I would have encouraged my children to join me and become fishermen. But the sea has only brought me exhaustion and cold. I don't want that for my children.
Time to head to the fish market. After 24 hours at sea, this is where fishermen come to empty out their crates. Mohammed tells us that the Israeli-imposed blockade has hit the fishing industry very hard. He says that Israel has restricted Gaza's fishing waters so much that it has almost destroyed the profession and added to the enclave's unemployment. Big fish are now so rare that they end up being exhibited like trophies. More than 1.7 million Palestinians live along this coastal strip, which covers 360 square kilometers. The unemployment rate is one of the worst in the world. According to the United Nations, nearly half of Gaza's working-age population is jobless. But the high rate of literacy offers a glimmer of hope. 9 out of 10 Gaza residents can read. Like many other young people, Dana Ismail pins her hopes for a better life on her studies. On her way to university, Dana recounts some of the challenges that she and other women students face.
Studying isn't simple for girls in Gaza. There are some families who don't let their daughters go to university. That's the case for many girls I know. Their parents are afraid to let them walk in the street by themselves. They don't like the idea that they can come across boys. Our society and our families are very conservative.
For Dana, there's no question about it. In Gaza, it's better to be a boy.
When you hear the comments made to girls who want to go outside, who want to work, it's clear that boys have a lot more freedom than girls do in Gaza.
Dana goes to the first public university in Gaza, the Aqsa University. She studies French in a classroom tucked discreetly into the back of the courtyard. The French department is an exception in the Palestinian enclave because here boys and girls can sit together. But what is the sense in studying French in Gaza? Dana explains.
Nearly all of the students here learn French, with the hope of someday traveling.
Most of the students admit that it's their dream to escape this closed-off territory. Back to reality. Today's lesson is about working on their debating skills. Their topic of discussion is a classic in Gaza.
Let's talk about the blockade here in Gaza.
Although they know the topic well, they don't all agree about it.
We have given my reasons why I think there's not really a blockade. It's been made up. Of course, there are a few counterexamples, like the closing of the crossing, ambulances, sick people. It's true.
And what about fishermen?
What's the problem with fishermen?
Gaza's fishermen cannot go very far out to sea.
For Dana and her classmates, the blockade is very real and its objectives are clear. But as the discussion develops, people begin to express their real opinions and start to identify the ruling Islamists as part of the problem.
We accuse several groups of being responsible for the blockade in Gaza. The first is the Israeli government. I believe that they are trying to make people's lives very hard. The second group responsible is the Hamas government. We think they're profiting from the blockade.
It's clear that Hamas is losing its popularity, but not with everyone. 2 years ago, Hamoud Salah was one of 1,000 Palestinian prisoners freed in exchange for Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit as part of an agreement between Hamas and Israel. Originally from Nablus in the West Bank, he is starting a new life in Gaza, where he was sent after spending 12 years in Israeli prisons. Since his release, he has married and now has a young daughter.
There are people here who don't want to have a girl, they only want boys.
And you, what do you prefer?
I prefer girls. Girl or boy, though, a child is a blessing.
Hamoud's happiness does not stop there. He has installed an entire array of machines and workers on the ground floor of his building. They are full-time pastry makers, and they supply the 3 restaurants also owned by this former prison inmate.
Nothing is too difficult when you have the willpower. A person who knows what he wants can accomplish the impossible, God willing. I have achieved great results and won unimaginable success in just a few months.
Hamoud tells how he put to good use the cash payment of several $1,000s given by Hamas on his release from prison.
You might not believe me, but I practically had to start from scratch. At first, I had one small restaurant where I only served fruit juices. I had to spend every cent I had on that. After a few months, things went really well, and here we are.
It's a success story, but one still confined by the reality of life in Gaza. The Israeli blockade makes it very difficult to bring in equipment and raw materials, and now another problem has further complicated the situation.
I have to store large amounts of flour and oil, even plastic plates. I stockpile everything that comes from Egypt through the tunnels because you never know when they might close. It's the only way to be sure of avoiding shortages. Since we know Egypt is no longer dependable, this is the only way of being safe.
For the last few months, the new regime in Egypt has also begun to make life hard in Gaza. It has sealed off most of the tunnels, Gaza's sole means for getting around the blockade. Today, these underground crossing points are virtually all out of commission. After dropping off his wife at the university, Hamoudeh leaves for a weekly appointment, which he has promised himself never to miss. As on every Monday, he joins a protest. A sit-in that brings together dozens, sometimes hundreds of people who are demanding the immediate release of their loved ones. Just some of the 5,000 Palestinians still held in Israeli prisons.
I still have a lot of really good friends behind bars. I spent years of pain and suffering in jail with them. This is my way of showing loyalty. It means I won't forget. It's also important for me to bring my little girl along so that she learns and understands that this detention is a violation of our rights.
Next, Hamoudeh takes us to see his latest restaurant, which he has just opened. It sells a specialty, knafe, which comes from the West Bank town where he was born. He also wants us to see the dining area, which is his pride and joy. Everything is given close attention, like screens between some of the tables.
There are many people who come here regularly simply because of those screens. They hide the first signs of new love.
A coffee house in Gaza is a good way to draw a captive clientele like Dana and her friends. After classes, they go somewhere that is reserved for girls except for the waiters. Here, Dana and her classmates freely criticize the party in power. They accuse it of having a negative impact on every aspect of their lives, including on relations between girls and boys.
Things are more complicated nowadays with the Hamas government because you notice that there are eyes here and there watching you all the time.
For the last 7 years, since Hamas came to power, everything has changed in our lives. There's no more fuel, no more petrol for cars. Everyday life has become hard. For instance, with the electricity often shut off. That's why I think that without Hamas, life would be better. They only bring us grief. I believe that, in fact, half of the population is opposed to Hamas's rule. No, we don't support them.
It's time for the old fisherman Mohammed Abu Sadek and his friends to raise anchor and set out again to sea.
I have 3 children and a wife at home. Who's going to feed them if I stop working? Each of my children who's married has 7 or 8 children. We all live under the same roof. If I stop working, I die.
The old tub which serves as their fishing boat was made entirely in Gaza using local materials. Mohammed tells us that he is most at peace when at sea, even if here also there is no escaping the blockade.
That's the limit which they've set for us.
The buoy marks the maritime blockade. Behind it is Israel. Gaza's fishermen can only sail a few miles out from their coast. This has considerably reduced the potential catch in these heavily overfished waters. When the nets are finally drawn in, the catch is meager. The captain decides to take a calculated risk by sailing beyond the boundaries set by Israel.
It has to be done because fuel is expensive and we cannot afford to return to the port empty. Sometimes we are not even able to cover our basic costs.
In a flash, we are spotted by an Israeli naval patrol, which gives chase at full throttle. Warning shots are soon heard.
Those shots are the only connection between us and them.
Once the danger is behind them, the fishermen return to their business, while Hajj keeps a weather eye on the horizon. Hamoude and his wife head out to the beach with their child to catch the day's final rays of sunshine. The former inmate and now Gaza resident compares the enclave to an open-air prison and tells us of his deepest desire.
I hope that one day I'll be able to return to my village, the place where I once lived. This is the only dream I have left. However, the future is like the sea, a great unknown. Perhaps I can go home one day, perhaps not.
Since the last war with Israel, few rockets have been fired from Gaza. The enclave continues its painful reconstruction against the backdrop of a precarious truce. But the guns here rarely stay quiet for very long.
Just a few of the characters living today in Gaza, giving us a flavour of life there. Well, that's today's Revisited. More editions, of course, coming up here on France 24, so stay tuned.